All right, we're back in class today. So we're back on the. I've got my 22 account. I've got 85 trophies. Let's see here. What do I got? I got 37 games played, 130, and I have not upgraded any of my clubs. I haven't. I'm still playing with just beginner stuff. There are a few. What I'd like to do is I was hoping to get 100 games in. I did get some gems in this account, so I can play some and speed stuff up. But I wanted to get a bunch of clubs here so that we could see like which clubs are really worth upgrading and putting your money into. I'm surprised. I guess I'm not surprised, but I have. There's only 3 rares when you think about tours 1 and 2. Is that right? Tours 1 and 2. There's only 3 rares: Extra Mile, Apache, and a Rough Cutter. And I'm surprised that I haven't gotten even one just to open up an Extra Mile. There's only 3 of them, and a 33% chance, and I've gotten the Apache and the Rough Cutter numerous times, but haven't gotten a Extra Mile, which I do find surprising. As much as when you first start a new account, having a driver that would help. And what's kind of cool now that wasn't there in the past when I originally started playing is that if you wanted a Tour 4, Tour 5, Tour 6, Tour 7 club, you needed to play in Tour 4, 5, 6, or 7. You weren't going to get any of those clubs. There was no way. Even if we used to have a pin chest, but the pin chest was really only going to give you clubs that you had access to. Then when the Golden Shot came out, the Golden Shot offered up and gave opportunities to get clubs, any club in the game. So you had the opportunity to pick up some clubs. Maybe you were only playing to Tour 3 and you were able to get some Tour 5, 6, 7 clubs, at least get them open, get them started. But there's so many different ways now in our weekly stuff. What is that called? The Golf Pass, the Season 64. So you can open up some of these chests. Like I just opened up this Tour 4 chest and got a Saturn. I think it wasn't a Saturn in that one. Maybe it was the quarterback. But you can open up some of these chests if you achieve these goals. Like what's this one? This is a Tour 4, a bigger Tour 4. So we do have some opportunities to get clubs above where we're playing. And as much as a better driver would help right now, just getting some distance. And to be honest with you, I'm not concerned about, I know a lot of people go, yeah, they're not very accurate. Who cares if they're accurate? We know how to use the wind ring method. And with the beginner driver, it's 2.8 per ring, and with an Extra Mile and a big topper, when they're at level 1, they're 3.0. So it's not that big of a deal to make wind adjustments. If you know how to make wind adjustments and you've been practicing with your beginner clubs, once you start getting some clubs, I will tell you the one easy thing is that when you first start playing, the longer you can play with the beginner stuff so that you can get the motions down and the mechanics down of adjusting the wind out, and every club is the same. Every club is 10 accurate, so every club is 2.8 per ring, so it's really easy to remember. But when you start using now, let's say I started using my rocket, now all of a sudden now I'm at 50% accurate, so that's 2 per ring instead of 2.8. And then I'm using another club that's 2.8, and then I'm using another club that's 1.7, and so now you're going to have to start remembering more than one number. So you'll have to write it down or use the app. You'll have to have some way to keep track of it. I'm just going to write them down as I start to upgrade stuff. There are obviously times when a bigger driver is really, really helpful, but I'll tell you that where you get burned in lower level play is when you're out on the course. We'll just pick a hole. Let's say you're out on the course here and you're not going to be, you can get to about right here with beginner stuff, but let's say for instance that you're here and you slightly miss and you're off the green on the second shot, or you roll past because you don't have good ball guide and you misjudged it and you roll off over here and you're right on the fringe. For an experienced player that's got better clubs, those aren't give-me's, but being on the fringe, not that big a deal. But when you got lower level stuff It is a big freaking deal because every shot's up close. Every shot has to be perfect, and you have no ball guide, so it's very easy to under adjust it where it ends up short of the cup and over, and it ends up past the cup, and you can, those shots that are up close on the green can be very, very hard when you have beginner clubs. So the one club that I do have that I was able to pick up so far that I really want to put in my bag is that Firefly. The Firefly starts off with 72 topspin. So there's a technique for running topspin on these holes when you're just right off of it, so that you can, the closer, so let's say the cup is here and you're standing right here and here's your ball guide. The closer you can get that ball guide to you, the smaller that ball guide gets. And the smaller the ball guide gets, the more accurate the club gets. And so if you can take the shot from back here by running topspin out to the cup, number one, wind's not going to be a factor. So just aim right at the flagpole. And number two, you could probably catch a grate to the left or the right and you'll still make it. But when you take one of those lower level clubs and you have to put your ball guide here, you have no spin, so you're having to adjust it back and forth in order to get what you think is going to run out to the cup, and you hit that grate to the left or the right, it's going to miss, more than likely. So having a club like the Firefly, which has topspin, it's got good ball guide right off the bat. I mean, it starts off with what, 3.1, right in that neighborhood as a level 1 club, so, or 3.2, excuse me, and it gets to 3.6 once it gets to level 2. So I mean, it's got some good stuff. I'm not really concerned, once again, I'm not concerned about the accuracy number. We know how to adjust that wind. But the things that I'm really looking for in this type of club is topspin and ball guide. And having a little teeny bit of backspin. There are some days where you can't run the topspin and you need to get up closer to the cup. And having a little bit of backspin in order to facilitate that is really nice. So having just a little bit, even that 15 right there, doesn't look like a lot. That is a lot. And so this is the great club. The one club that I could put in my bag that I have in my inventory right here that would drastically change my success rate would be that Firefly. Would be the most important club to put in my bag right now. Yes, distance would help, being able to get up there farther, being able to get onto the green. But if you're going to find yourself when you first start playing where you're just short, you're just off of the green a lot, and those shots are super easy to miss with lower level stuff. But if you put a Firefly in your bag, it will greatly increase your odds of helping out here. So what I'm going to do, I actually took this account and I qualified it for the tournament. So I can play in the tournament, and I did it with basic stuff, and I did it with a white ball. And I shot a 7 and I qualified, and I missed 2 of those short shots that I'm talking about that are right off the green. So I had a 9 in the bag, and I didn't get it done because I didn't hit the shots perfect. So it is possible to get the 9 going. The difficult holes for an account like this are the par 5s. I mean, it's really, really tough to get eagles on the par 5s just because you're not getting, it's the combination of the 3 clubs. You're not getting enough on the drive to put you into your wood range. And so now you're short on the drive, now you're short on the wood, so you're having to lay it up, and then you're up close, but now you got to deal with the fact that you have crappy short clubs. So we'll see what we can get done here today, and just playing one-on-one. I'd really like to I got a little lucky, and I got this quarterback. And if I look at the quarterback versus the rocket, and the quarterback's I'm not going to get any more quarterback cards unless I start playing Tour 4, or I get lucky and get 3 more cards in some, the golf pass chests or the season chests or somewhere like that. Because when it gets to level 2, I'd probably just exclusively use it. But if we go to our clubs and we go to drivers and we look at the rocket, Now, here's how it works, just so you know. You get a card. You got one card for it. It opens it up, so this is what you're looking at when you first get a club. In order to upgrade it to its second level, in order to upgrade it to level 2, you need to have 4 cards. And it'll cost you 100 gems or 100 coins in order to upgrade it. In order to get it to level 3, you got to have 10 cards. So in total, you had to have gotten you need 14 cards from when you originally opened it in order to get it to level 3. To get it to level 4, you need, I think it's 20 cards, and then 50, and then 100, and then 200, and then 400, and then 1,000, and then 2,000 in order to get it to that level. So in order for me to get it to level 3, I got to have 14 cards. In order for me to get it to level 4, I'm going to have 34 cards. And then 84 cards. 84. In order to upgrade it. So I can look in my inventory and see how many cards I want. If I wanted to upgrade something to level 6, I'd have to have 184 cards. If I wanted to upgrade it to level 7, I'd have to have 384 cards. So I can kind of get an idea of where I could upgrade it to. So I can look on here and see, like, because right now, honestly, the rocket's not worth, you know, if I took it at level 1, the basic beginner club hits at 190. The 50 accuracy is not that big of a deal here. Number 1, the winds are low. But number 2, it's super easy. If I'm going to start inputting new numbers, where I have to remember a new number, versus the 2.8, it's not that big of a deal. It still doesn't have any topspin, still doesn't have any backspin. The curl, it does have, I think the beginner's got like 5, and so that is a little, but the ball guide's exactly the same. Ball guide's exactly the same at level 2. And really, in all honesty, at level 2, it doesn't gain that much. That little teeny bit of backspin and topspin would be helpful, but it's not a game breaker. I really would like to just get an extra mile, because even though its numbers look like they're shit, because the accuracy is 0, it's at 3.0 per ring, and it has no backspin. Well, guess what? I don't have any backspin right now, and I have a little bit more curl, and I got a little bit more topspin, and I'm hitting 30 yards farther. And that's pretty big. The ball guide is the thing that's worse. You know, you got to have something that's worse than the beginner. But when I get it to level 2, then bam, I'm at the same ball guide. Now I've got a little bit more curl. Same backspin as I had with the, you know, and it did get a little more accurate. It almost went up to the, so I'm really not going to upgrade any of my driver. I'm not going to really, I really don't want to play with the rocket. I just want to get my, once I get an extra mile, if I can get it to level 2, then I'll be fine right there and just play along with it. But unfortunately, I haven't gotten one yet. What's the deal with that? The Viper, as far as the woods go, might be, I'd like to get that horizon opened up, because I'd rather play with a horizon. And if I had an extra mile in my bag right now, the beginner wood would be fine until I could get enough cards to maybe get my horizon to level 2. Because we look at a horizon, we look at our woods, we got the horizon and the Viper here. So when we get the Viper, it's at 160. Let me go back here real quick. Let me look at my beginner wood, and it's at 160, 5 or 10 accuracy, 5 curl, 2 ball guide. So when I look at the Viper, it starts off at 160. It does get a little bit more distance here really quick. So like right now I have, how many cards do I got in it right now? I've got 127 cards in my Viper. So based off of my my chart, I could get it to level 4. So I could take it to level 4 right now. I'd be a little short of level 5. So I could take my Viper to level 4. It would have a little bit better ball guide than it's got right now. It'd definitely have more curl. Definitely have some backspin. And backspin, if it's the difference between which would you rather have when you have lower developed stuff, would you rather have topspin or backspin? The backspin actually is more helpful. There are times when you'd like to be able to run it up and get a little bit more distance on it, but that's not going to kill you. But there are a lot of times when you've got beginner clubs where you've got no maneuverability, and having some backspin, you can't go back. Here's your red line. You can't go back anymore. And so you need a little bit of backspin in order to stick it on the green. And so the backspin number is actually a pretty good number. It did pick up a little bit of distance. Once again, the accuracy at this level, accuracy is not that big of a deal, but it is a little bit more accurate. But I'm still not sure that I would upgrade. I would rather have a level 1 or a level 2 horizon, because once again, we're at the same accuracy that we're going to be at with our extra mile. When we start off, we're going to be at 0. It's not going to get up to where our beginner club was as far as accuracy until it gets to level 3, but we've picked up 10 yards of distance. And the horizon, if you're playing with lower level drivers, the horizon is going to really help you out, because it can make up for what the driver didn't get you. And it's got 74 topspin, so it can, not only is it 170, but it's 170 and 74 topspin. That's huge. Now, no backspin, but there's a lot of holes with the, depending on where you get out there, that might not hurt you. But it would be nice to have some backspin, and we get some when we get to level 2. But one of the things I like about this club right off the bat is we're going to be hitting this club into a lot of greens, whether it be a par 3 or whether it be, you know, a par 4 or par 5 that we laid it up out there with our driver, and now we're trying to get in there, and it's going to have a pretty good ball guide, especially when we get just 4 cards and we can get it to level 2 and we get that 3.7. Hey, that's something that's missing in a lot of, you know, lower level clubs, is it's not a bad deal right here. Does it get better as it goes up? Absolutely, but it's not bad right here at the beginning. And even at level 1, it's better than the beginner one, and it gives us a little bit of tools. This ball guide's big when you first start playing, just so you can kind of get an idea of where it's going to. Now, one club that I just got, and I haven't even looked at it yet, is the Saturn. And the Saturn, so when we look at the beginner, the Saturn's ball guide's not as good as the beginner. But we do get a little bit of accuracy, we get a little bit of topspin, we get a little bit of backspin. But you'll have noticed when you're playing with lower level stuff that you know, there's a clump of trees right here, and we just need to hit it to this spot. But the clubs that we have aren't really good. And unless you bring out a bigger ball, which I would recommend when you first start playing, don't use anything other than like a Marlin or a white ball. Learn how to play with those. You don't need to be spending money on balls. You can get balls. What I had to buy in this pack is I bought one with the special balls that are available this week, just so I could get the 500 gems. But I'm going to save those balls, because at some point, you know, those will, if I'm playing in tournaments, those will be helpful. And they may be helpful right now. There's at least one of the holes that I think that it might be helpful to bring out a bigger ball, even though I got lower level stuff. But the Saturn's not bad, even at level 1. It's the same distance, a little bit more accurate. Got to change the number. But I do get a little teeny bit of topspin, and I get a little bit of backspin. But one of the things that I like on this is this curl right here, because we find ourselves behind these trees and we're right here, and the green's over here, and in order to get there I got to kind of hit this way and lay it up and then take the pitch, which we're not good at because we got lower level stuff. But to try and get on the green, you can aim right at it and apply some curl and go around those trees and end up getting there. And 50 curl is big for lower level stuff. I mean, that's a lot of curl. You can put yourself in, you can recover a lot easier with curl with this type of club. So what I don't like here is that we're at the ball guide situation where it's only at 1.7. Let's see on a Saturn what we'd have to be at, like where it gets a little bit better. Because part of the deal is I don't want to be buying, I don't want to have to upgrade my clubs like, I know I'm not going to use certain clubs, so I'm not going to invest any cheddar in them. And before I, like, I've got a backbone right now, and I think, how many club cards I got in my backbone? I got 106. So I could take it to level 4. And so when we look at a level 4 backbone, we're right here. And so, what is it, 115 on the beginner and the Saturn. We did get a little bit more accurate, so it's 2 per ring. We got a little bit of topspin, we got a little bit of backspin, we got a little bit of curl. Ball guide's at 2.5. That's pretty decent. But if we were playing up, we're talking about level 3, we don't need many cards to get these up. So I don't want to, and your Goliath is definitely a club, a really good club. It hits far. Its accuracy, once again, at the beginning is not, I wouldn't worry too much about it, because nothing's going to be super accurate down here. I mean, a lot of these clubs aren't going to be super accurate. But there are certain clubs here, like I'm not going to upgrade anything on the Grim Reaper. I'm not going to pay for that. You start talking about, we're doing the backbone, if we could upgrade it to level 4, it's 340 coins for the first, 800,000, so 2,240. And I don't have a lot of gem or coins, so if we're starting to upgrade all of our stuff, and I'm going to blow through the coinage that I need to go out there and play to win chests. I'm not sure at this point. I'm not going to play this account probably past Tour 3. I'm just going to play Tour 3 for quite a while in it, just to work on its clubs. What we want to do is try and max out our commons low. So if we play just Tours 1, 2, and 3, we can try and max out the commons, our Tour 3 commons, so we can start participating in the club card, because you will be amazed at how fast you'll get enough club cards to max out one of these clubs. Especially if you are playing Tour 3. If you go to Tour 4, Tour 4 is probably as high as I'd go, just because I could play friendlies up to Tour 4. And in your weekly bracket as you go up during the week. So when we view all of our divisions right now, I'm in Rookie 1. So if you're in Rookie 2, you get more club cards in every chest. This is why people go up and they're like, yeah, I want to get up here as high as I can, because then I can get 100%. That means I'm getting 100% more. But you got to go up in the tours in order to get enough cheddar to be able to qualify to get in a master. And so you're ramping yourself up very quickly, and the competition's going to ramp up very quickly when you're playing that. And it's not, in my opinion, it's better to just go slow, especially if you're new. Just go slow and work on your clubs and get really good at the game, and make sure that you got it down and that you're comfortable before you move up to the next level. While working on clubs, what I really want to do, and I think when I start the opening round in the tournament, I'm not too concerned about the rest of these clubs, but I am going to, I probably will switch to the Firefly, because the Firefly is the club that will impact my game the most immediately. Well, let's go out and just play some. I want to play some Tour. I want to play Tour 3 stuff and see. I've played some Tour 3, and I think I've played 4 or 5 matches, and I'm 3-2. We will see. I am digging the fact that when you first start, if you're just playing with the beginner stuff, that everything is 2.8 per ring. Now this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where you really want to get, you don't have to quite get to the shadows. 3.8 divided by 2.8, 1.35 rings. $135, and I'm gonna put some over. I'm gonna have to put some overpower so I can get in front of those trees, and that'll put me in the sand. Maybe. All right. If you don't, you've got to get past those trees. Otherwise, you need some curl in order to get yourself around them. And you don't have to get all the way. It's kind of, I'm pretty close to where if I hadn't hit it that far. I wasn't sure if I could get the distance to actually get to that sand. I think I'll be all right even if you sliced it. That fairway's pretty big out there, so you kind of got it. You really do have to kind of screw up. I think my opponent's in a good spot. They are. 3 divided by 2.8. I'm gonna do, that's 1.17. I'm gonna do 1.2 rings. I'm adding on a little bit just because I know I've played this hole a lot. 1.2. Hitting it perfect. Overpulled it. It's hard to tell if I overpulled it or if I was actually not aiming right at it. That's one of the things about not having any ball guide. And the ball guide, just in case I haven't explained this to you, you're here and you hit the ball over to this area. That's one ball guide. So when you see something that has one ball guide, it's going to show you just that. If it's 2, it's to the second bounce. So if it's 1.5, you're only going to see this much. And then it's going to, so each one of these bounces is going to be shorter than the last one. So you're going to hit it out there and it touches the ground the first time, and then it bounces to the second bounce. That distance is shorter than it was in the first, and then it's going to bounce to the third bounce. And that distance is going to be shorter than the next. And so if you've got, you know, when you get your clubs upper developed and you start getting 4 ball guide, 4.4, 4.1, you can really see where the ball is going to go. I'm really surprised in the game. Like, I know the game at some point they're going to get stagnant. They're going to have to come out with some new shit in order to brighten the game up. And I guarantee you, you can mark my words, at some point in the distant, maybe not so distant future, they'll come out with stuff like you can play this hole with not only that ball, but you can decide that you're going to wear a glove. And the glove gives you a little bit more stability, or it gives you, now this hole right here is going to suck. See if I can get my spin right. And I got no spin stuff at all. I'm gonna see if I'm at the red line, just kind of how it rolls out. 2.5. Is that 0.9 of a ring? I'm gonna move it a ring. See how it hits out. I have noticed that in these Tour 3 matches, the problem that I'm having is not, it is more difficult when you're out on the course, but when you're playing these shootouts, there are some of the shootouts that are in here that are a lot harder when you got lower developed stuff. Because they have a lot of movement on them, and it's one of the holes that you'd really like to put some spin, or you'd like to add a little bit of curl, or you'd like to get where my opponent's at right there and put some backspin on it so that you could stick the shot. Now we know that wind, then they didn't move it, so the wind's going to move them off, and they got overpower on it, and they hit it 3 rings great. That's the cool thing about knowing how to adjust for the wind is it seems like, you know, well, shit, he's only moving 0.9 of a ring or 0.75 of a ring. It's not that big of a deal. Watch your opponents. Your opponents will do that same, they got the same club, and they'll go out there and they'll move it 2 rings. And you're like, wow, they really overpulled that. Or wow, they underpulled that and they're going to end up in the sand or the rough. And being able to make just those little teeny adjustments. That's why it's important to learn how to do those and do them all the time. Let's see if we can max out 2 or 3 with basic stuff. There are some rough assholes here. And one of the things that I really should do is join a clan, because if I got a clan, even though I have some not really good stuff, there are a couple holes that it might be better to bring out, you know, a different stuff. Like I wouldn't mind, I should be playing with my quarterback right now, because gives me the same ball guide, a little bit more distance. The accuracy, like I said, at this stage is not that big of a deal for us. The top spin, the deal is it's easier to make adjustments when you're at 10 accurate than when you're at 73, because 73 is basically, let's call that 75 for the sake of argument. That means that it's 1.5 per ring, and this is 2.8. So if you got a 3-mile-an-hour wind, with the 2.8, it's 1.07 rings or 1.1 rings, but with the 1.5, now we're talking about 2 rings. So you will have to make bigger adjustments the more accurate the club is. And here we're just doing these little micro adjustments. The deal is that if you're here and you're hitting out to here and you hit it perfect with either one of these clubs, it goes straight to that spot. Now, let's say that you made perfect wind adjustments and that you took the wind out absolutely perfect and you're perfect and you hit it perfect, it's going right to where you're aiming. But if you hit it 1 ring great to the right, with this club, a 1 ring great is 1.5 miles an hour of wind. And so on your first bounce, you're out 1.5. Well, on your second bounce, you're now out 3. Well, on this club, and you hit it 1 ring great to the left, the first bounce, you're 2.8 miles per hour off. So you're as off on the first bounce as you would be with the quarterback on the second bounce. So a lot of those times, this is why I say always give yourself 2 rings of separation. I always want to give myself separation when I'm taking shots. I don't want to be rubbing up against shit. And I'm as concerned about the second bounce as I am about the first. I want to know where my second bounce is going, because a lot of times I see people set up shots and it's like, dude, did you look at your second bounce? You put that curl on there, that second bounce is going to end up in the rough, and then sure as crap, it ends up in the rough. All right. Let's go back and play some more. We'll go back and see if we can get to 50 games, and then I will maybe switch out a couple clubs. I might just switch out a couple clubs just for the tournament. I want to put that Firefly in my bag bad, though. Like right now, bad. I was excited when I saw the Firefly get in there, because there's a ton of those close-up shots that you will just not be, you can make them with the beginner, but it's so much easier to make them with the Firefly. When I originally started playing, I got a Firefly and I wasn't playing with it, and then I was educated by a gentleman named Nicholas. He taught me by having him beat my ass for hours on end. It was probably 2 or 3 hours of play, and having him kick my butt, I learned the benefits of a Firefly. 3.3, 1.17, 1.2 rings, all in power. And the 2 rings great to the right. And against that wind, I'm not going to get out as far as I did last time, so I'm not going to clear the trees. I'm going to be way short. I did clear the trees. Amazing. Amazing. Let's be nice to our opponent. Maybe we can find somebody that wants to replay. What's up, Keith? Thanks for joining the channel, bro. I didn't look to see what level their rocket was, but I think that actually might be okay for them. They might have a shot there because I don't think they made it to the trees. No, they might be able to from the distance they're at go over the top of the trees. Let's see if we can get this one right this time. Let's just do it straight up. It's 0.64 of a ring. .64. Hold on, I better plug my tablet in before it dies. .64 of a ring. And I am definitely not going towards the cup. I have no idea if I'm going towards the cup. I'm right there on the fringe area, and it's in the hole! It's hard to tell when you're in that spot. It's right there on the transition. If you ever hear me say, just to give you some terminology to make sure, when I talk about the transition, it's the transition between two surfaces. This is the putting green. This is the fringe. This is the fairway. Then you got the rough, if I can remember how to spell rough. And then you got the second cut of the rough. And so when we talk about transitions between surfaces, I'm right at the transition between the fringe and the fairway. And so it makes the ball guide go, when it's on the fairway, it's doing one thing, and when it's on the fringe, it's doing another. Good game. Good game. See if they want to replay. Want to replay? No dice. No dice. I do have I'll open up a chest. I don't want to have, if you're playing, especially if you're trying to replay people, I always want to have at least a couple chests open. My normal ammo, and this is how I played it. When you think about like how much time you're playing the game during the day, you play every 4 wins, if I can spell, every 4 wins equals 1 gold chest. And so if you win 16 games in the course of a day, you can fill all 4 of your slots with gold chests, and gold chests take 8 hours. So like if you play in the morning, or I like to get up a little bit early in the morning and be able to chill out and think around and watch a little bit of TV and play a little bit and mess around and then go to work, as opposed to having to just get up and go immediately, which is how I did it when I was younger. But I do like to get up and spend a little bit of time out. By the time I get home from work, I've got a chest that's done, or maybe I've got one chest that's already done and the other one's already halfway there or working on it, and so I can clear those chests out and let time go by to clear those chests out. You get one overnight, and then you got one, you can try and move them, but trying to get 4 gold chests, so we want to get 16 wins in a day. And if we can keep our win percentage at 75%, it'd be 16 times, that's not right. What is that? Was it like 22 wins? Or 22 games? Play 22 games? Is that right? 22 games? Yeah, you play 22 games, you win. If you were a 75% winner, you win your 16 chests and you move the hell along. Whereas if you're a 50% player, you're going to have to pay 32 times during the day. So if you think about how long it takes you to play that extra 10 games, that's at least an hour that you're spent playing the game just to win those chests. But trying to get 4 gold chests every day, and so that we can get you get 5 rares in a gold chest plus your divisional bonus, which in this case is what, 10%? You all division, yeah, I get 10% more. Woo! All right, let's get back out there. Let's get back out there. We haven't gotten to the hard holes yet in 2 or 3. There is one of the holes here in Tour 3 that's at Gakasha Bay that I remember playing. It's actually the first time I ever hit an Albie, and the first time I ever hit an Albie, I hit it with a Horizon. And it's the Island par 3, or par 5. This is not going to be a fun hole with beginner stuff. My wind's blowing with me. I'm going to put a little bit of overpower on it just so that I can try and make it over to the other side. Hitting it perfect. Not really enough to make the needle go too much faster or get really crazy, but just enough to combat that little bit of wind. Now, even with upper developed clubs, you're not going to make it from there. You might be able to bounce off the island and bring it back around to the right, but with beginner stuff, it's just not going to happen. Now, luckily for me, my opponent's also having to hit to that side. And if they were pretty close to the line, they put too much power, they might end up clipping the rough right here on the first bounce. Close. 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 I'm okay with just being right over here. I'm going to go right back against the red line. I don't have any backspin, so I can't do anything about that. And I'm at minimum club, but it's not going to matter. I'm going to do 0.67 or 6.7. And I'm not a fan of short shooting, but I am going to just rub against the nubs. Because I don't want to take any risk of being long right there. You don't have ball guides, so you're not really sure how it's going to roll out or how the bounces are going to go after that first bounce. So just trying to be as far back as I could. Now my opponent with a Horizon can get over there. See, they have, not only is the Horizon hit farther, but it's got a shit ton of topspin, and there is a rough bump that you can do right there. Now my opponent might be so new that they don't realize that they can do the rough bump. And they do realize they can do the rough bump. I'm watching to see if they move it over to try and adjust the wind out there. 3/4 to a third of a ring off of the transition. They hit anything great right, and they could be in big ass trouble. This is why and my buddy Dale Appleby, he plays a lot of one-on-one, and there is a totally different mentality with playing one-on-one, that when you're playing, it's fairway to green. Now, I don't have any spin, and I'm afraid I'm going to bounce off the back, so I'm going to do what's called a rough bump here. I'm going to hit the rough, and it'll bounce out of the rough. Where am I at in my club? It's once again 0.67. I'm going to come over just a little. I have no idea where it's going to go because I got no ball guide, but 0.67 of a ring. And I hit it great to the right. And that's all I need. Now, this is where you're going to find yourself a lot during this is where you're going to find yourself a lot when you have lower developed clubs, is where you're just right off of the green like that. And while with my other accounts, I don't even think twice about that. That's just it's not necessarily a gimme. You don't walk up there and play Demic says, okay, you can take it. You still got to take the shot. You still got a little bit of work to do, but it's not hard work. But when you've got beginner stuff, it is super easy to miss this next shot. Now, I'm only going to say how I play, because you could talk to a lot of people in this game and they may tell you different stuff. I'm just going to tell you how I play it. When I'm this close to the green, especially when you're playing rookie, wind is not really a factor. So aim towards the flagpole. Don't try and adjust out for the wind when you're this close. Just aim towards the flagpole. Oh, fuck, that was 2 rings off. I missed it. And that's what I'm talking about when you're playing with low-level stuff. I hit it 2 rings, and there I am. 2 rings. And they can chip in to win. I let them back in the game. I opened the door for them. The good news is that they've got lower level stuff too, so it's and they are, unless they had a shitload of backspin, they are way too close. Like that, if that ball doesn't go past the hole, I'm going to be super surprised. That's the cool thing about playing with the lower, some of the ones that I've won down here in 3. It's just my opponents actually had better clubs than me, but they didn't play their clubs very good, or they screwed up and put themselves in the rough, or they ended up in the drink like my opponent right there. My opponent should have kicked my ass. They had much better clubs than me. They were able to get on in 2 by laying it up on the drive, and there's no way that I was going to be able to get on in 2. Now see how my opponent's moving it off? If they hit that perfect or great to the left, they're going to miss, because that wind is not going to affect that ball in any way, shape, or form. And why in the hell are you short shooting a shot like that? You can see where your ball guide's going. Oh, I can't believe they made that on a perfect. That is unbelievable. Don't move off the cup when you're that close when you first start, because there'll be a lot of times you'll hit it perfect and you'll miss exactly where you were aiming. Now this is one of the par 3s I was talking about, that when you've got beginner stuff it sucks, because I have no freaking clue where I'm going. .35 rings if I just did a max pull. So there's 1.35. Hitting it perfect. Should have concentrated on that last shot. No, it did hit perfect. And that's what's going to happen to me on this hole, is I am going to end up being short. If I go back to the club behind it, it doesn't have enough oomph to get me up there. And this one, the shot that I really like to take here is if you can come in here with some backspin, you can actually do a rough bump in the fairway right in this area right here in the front. The slope goes down like this, and then it comes onto the green, and you can come in right in this area right here, and the ball's not going to bounce up. What it's going to do is it's going to hit the ground and it's going to slip. And once it slips, it doesn't bounce anymore. It'll just slide across the course. And if you got a little bit of backspin on there, it'll slide across the course as it's backspinning, and it'll flatten out and just roll across the green. It's a rough bump from the fairway. The good news is that this hole sucks for everybody. Although I lost one on this hole yesterday, where my opponent was like 1 yard away. All right, here we go. Here we go. How many games have I played so far? Played 40. How much time have we shot on this video? Let me look at that. I'm going to play one more. I'm going to play one more and try and fill that slot, and then I'm going to stop this video. And then I'm going to go, I'll start another one up, and we'll pick a couple clubs and play in our first tournament. I really would like to get an extra mile. I shot a video quite a few years ago on how to get extra mile cards, and I'm kind of, at the time it was questionable whether or not you should play Tour 2 or Tour 3 to get extra mile. Like, where's your best opportunity to get extra mile cards? And the way it looks right here, right now, is not in Tour 2. 1.1, 1.1, 0.4 of a ring. I'm going to do just a little bit of overpower just to get me over. Not enough to really make it go any faster. Hitting it one ring great to the right, which is going to put me in the rough. Right there. Bled out into the fairway. Just enough. This hole has been redesigned, and there's several, and it's in this Gakasha Bay that we had the problems, but this is the first cut of the rough. This is the second cut of the rough. When this hole originally came out, the second cut of the rough was out of bounds. So if you weren't in the fairway or on the first cut of the rough, you were out of bounds. It wasn't about, you know, overhitting it and trying to come up here and do some monster thing and ending up in the water. The whole deal is that if you ended up in the second cut of the rough, you were out of bounds and you were hitting it again. It was really difficult. This is the shit that cracks me up. I'd forfeit this game and give you the win, dude, for that ball. Like, what the hell are you playing Tour 3 with that ball? Now, they're your balls. You can do whatever you want with your balls. But why the hell would you waste them here? That cracks me up. And you can see the difficulty that I'm going to have here. Where I'd really like to get is like right into this area. I can't do anything about the spin. I can't straighten that spin out. .8, 3.6, 1.28 rings. Now what I'm doing is I'm pushing the forward wind back in because I want the ball to try and get ahead of where it's spinning right there. Where it's, as soon as it makes this bounce, it's going to jump to the left. I was trying to get far enough back so that it wouldn't end, or far enough forward that it wouldn't end up in the rough right there. Now, here we go. This is the shot where I wish that I had my Firefly. I'm going to put that Firefly in there just to show you what it's like. Because this is a spot that you end up in a lot when you first start playing. And when I first started playing, I will tell you that these shots right here from the fringe, how many of these shots I missed, that it almost made me quit playing the game, because it's like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. We're just like that far off and I can't get the freaking ball to go in the hole. Because you got to hit them perfect and you really can't see where the hell you're going. Hitting it perfect. In the hole. See, you hit it perfect, it goes in the hole. You hit it great to the left or the right, it's 2.8 miles per hour off. And it's going to miss the cup. And my opponent's going to have to go through the same bullshit that I went through. They're in an even worse situation because they're at their red line and that beginner club doesn't have. Now, the best thing they could do is try and go for a dunk right there instead of short shooting it, or pull it back on the other side of the red line and use their the club below. They did all that stuff, brought out an extra ball. I would have forfeited that just to get that ball, though. I can tell you that. I think I have one more in me, but I am going to start using that. I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch in that bag so you can see if we can get on a hole, if we can end up back in a spot like that, which is going to be extremely easy to end up back in a spot like that. But I'm going to switch to my Firefly. Let's Let's upgrade it. Upgrading it. Picking up a little bit of curl. Picking up a little bit of... And I'm going to select it. What kind of accuracy? Now, this is where we start. Here we go. We're at 40 accurate. So that means with my Firefly, at 50, it's 2. At 55, it's 2.1. Or excuse me, at 45, it's 2.1. At 40, it's 2.2. So it's 2.2 per ring instead of 2.8. Better write that down. Firefly. And we'll see how much of a difference just this one club, just switching to that one, because I think of all the clubs that are in my bag that would change, that would make this good, that is the club. Because the other day when I qualified for the tournament, I really would have liked to have had that Firefly in my bag. It would have been big. Oh, that is not what I want to play. Whew. I've done that before where I wasn't playing a tournament, I was shooting videos and I screwed up and I played the hole and I was like, wow, this is the hole we're playing in a tournament. I didn't think that, oh, it's not in this. Wait a second, it's not in Tour 5. Oh shit, I started the tournament. This hole right here is brutal when you first start playing. So the deal is to recognize that it's brutal and play smart like my opponent is. Lay it up, shoot to the next link. It's going to be 3 shots to get on. And even if you really screw up this drive, you can probably still recover. We'll work the directional wind out. 1.75 rings. So it was going to push me off that far, but I can't really do anything about the forward wind other than to just put a slight bit of overpower on. Just rub the nubs. Just trying to lay myself up out there just like my opponent. I got a little bit of an advantage on me here. That Viper hits farther. They did not adjust the wind out, so if they hit that grate to the left, they take the risk of tailing off. Oh, they're going to tail off into the rough. They may be in the drink. Bye. Woo! So this is what I'm talking about. Fairway to green. If you go out and just learn how to make these super minor wind adjustments, and don't get crazy, don't get stupid, don't care what your opponent does. Don't watch what they're doing. Just play your own game. .1, 0.75 of a ring. .75 of a ring. Hitting it perfect. Now it's all about whether or not I go too far, because you can't tell. Fairway to green. Fairway to green. You will go out on some courses and you will find people that have, especially when you first start, that have a little bit better clubs than you, like on the last hole, that they can get it done and they're just going to beat you. But most of those people are going to go out there and they're going to screw it up with those clubs, and they're going to end up in the rough or in the sand or in the drink, and then you're going to grind it out. A tortoise in the hare, you're going to just grind it out. Once again, 2 rings great to the left. All right, here we go. Here we go. 3.5. It's going to be a 1 1/4 rings. Now, there is a rough bump here. You can try and get on the green. It's difficult. If we had some spin in our ball, we could move it around right there, but we can't. But I'm going to play right to this spot right here, and it'll rough bump it out. I'm going to be a little bit farther away from the rough. 1.25 rings. 1.25 rings. Oh, and I hit it great to the left. That's bad. I might get stuck in the rough. And just dribble it out onto the course. Just dribble. Some of those, like that right there, I suppose you could say that that's like an intermediate technique of doing the rough bumps. There are rough bumps in the game. When the game first started, a lot of us didn't realize that there was rough bumps, but then we started figuring it out, and there were some of the holes where you could do rough bumps come in there. Some of these par 3s, you could do rough bumps and increase your odds. What it does is the wind affects it until it hits the ground on that rough bump, and then from that point on, if it's going towards the hole, it's not going to be affected by the wind. It's going to keep going that direction. In the hole. Just having the little teeny wind ring method, because if we don't have it, you're guessing on all of those shots, and it's really gonna be. Now I'm gonna open up all these chests, because I'm gonna open them up right now just to see if I can get an extra mile in one of these. Got an Apache. Even though they're not there, I'm gonna open them all up just to see if I can get a level. Just to see if I can get an extra mile. It'll be in that gold chest if it's there. I'm surprised I got a rare in that one. This is the last one. Am I gonna get an extra mile right here? Extra mile, look at that. Extra mile. That is gonna be huge for us on some of the par 5s, because even with our basic wood, if we can get out there just a little bit farther, we could get that shot. So having an extra mile, even though it's ball guide blows, there's a lot of drives where you're looking at. There's several different types of drives in the game. Let's say we had a rough area and it was like this, and this is fairway that goes forward and there's no end to it, and this is fairway. And there are some drives where, like our red line's right here, and you have to pull back from the red line in order to get into the spot to take the shot. Well, in reality, if you got a big topper in your bag, you're better off. A big topper doesn't hit as far as an extra mile, but when you pulled back from the red line, you weren't hitting your extra mile at its max. Okay, so but the big topper's got 100 topspin, and the extra mile has 20. So you're going to net a lot more yards with a club that doesn't hit as far, just because you're having to pull back, right? Does that make sense? If you're on the other side and you can go as far as you can possibly go, then ball guide really doesn't matter, as long as you're, looking off in the direction. Where you get into trouble is where you're hitting onto those fairways where here's the fairway, and down at the end of the fairway, we've got a rough. And so now you don't know exactly how far you're going to roll out. Are you going to roll out too far and end up in that rough? So like, where do we set the shot up here on this range in order to make it so that it doesn't bleed out into the rough on the end? And that's partially just playing the hole. You need to play the hole a couple times and be willing to get caught in that rough so that you can find out where you need to be. But in the tournament, I'm definitely going to put that extra mile in my bag. And this right here is a time where it's probably, we're getting close to where you need to join a clan. And I should shoot a video just on joining a clan. There's not as many benefits. The clans have been out for a long time, and I'll be totally honest with you. The clans are beneficial because you can get more bags. So as you start to get a collection of clubs, maybe you have a big topper bag, maybe you have an extra mile bag. A lot of the other clubs aren't going to change because you've got, as good as you're going to get. But where it can become different is on your driver. And somewhat, I'm going to play once I get this Horizon card opened up. I'm gonna upgrade my Viper. But I really was kind of hoping I would get a Horizon card up at this point, because if I can get my Horizon to level 1, level 2, I'm going to play with it until I can get one of these clubs down here, preferably a sniper, because you don't have to get a sniper to a very high level before it's like level 3 before it becomes like a great club. But the Horizon is perfect. It's got distance, it's got lots of topspin, ball guide. It's not very accurate, but beginner clubs aren't very accurate. So you might have some extra bags for that. So being in a clan, you will get access to some bags so that you can set up bags with different drivers in them, just depending on the hole that you're playing, and you can change out the driver, because the driver is what to get you out to the spot. There's not really a lot of other benefits that you get from clans other than the camaraderie. If you're in a clan that's active, people are going to be posting their scores or posting like, hey, this is what I did on hole number 6. One of my we got a lot of teammates in the Kings of Golf, and they'll post replays of a shot. I will be the first to admit I'm probably the worst clan mate, because I do these videos, so if people can watch the videos to find out what I did, and I don't post as much in my clan or talk as much in my clan as I probably should. I would give a shout out to all my clan mates. I love y'all. I love you guys. But don't feel like I suppose that there are some clans out there that if you join the clans, they're what we call grinders, where you go out and they want you to play 7,000 games in a minute so that you can grind out. And you want to join a clan that's not really concerned about grinding it out. They just want to play. And if you're in a group of people like that, number one, you can get some information on holes. Like, hey, you know, I'm on this hole, especially if you're playing tournaments, because tournament play is what a lot of us play for, is tournament play. And you can get a lot of information from your clan as far as tournaments. But as far as other stuff, gifts, you don't really, in my opinion, they haven't done anything with the clans since they started. It took them a while before they could fill up all of the divisional brackets, and I had assumed wrongly, that once they got to that point, then they were going to do some major stuff with the clans to start giving out rewards, and, you know, if your clan does good and do the stuff. But I think they finally started doing some of that, but they're way late to the game. They've wasted an opportunity to really kind of band the community together. And this, I will tell you another thing about Playdemic and Golf Clash. Here recently, they've given us some balls because of a new feature that they have, but they don't give you a lot. There's the carrot and the stick. We get the stick a lot, and you have to pay for the carrot. So it's not that they're mean to us, but they're not. Don't expect them to be helpful or giving when it comes to that stuff. Like a lot of other games, they're not as giving as a lot of other games are. All right, there you have it. I played some. I'm still trying to get this account up. And I think I'm going to shoot a video, and we'll talk about, I'm going to play with some clubs here in my, and I'll play the tournament today. We'll see how I do. I think with an extra, I think with an extra mile in that, just with an extra mile and the Firefly, I can now play minimum score. A minimum score, and I'll have to shoot a video on time. There is so much stuff that I have to teach everybody, but I will try and cover it all. If there's specific things you want me to talk about, please leave a comment. If you're not a subscriber, hit subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. And if you don't like it, don't hit the like button. Hopefully you liked it. And I will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.